We're here, it's good. So, okay, so now the Hangout is on the air and is live. Wonderful. Okay. So I'd like to address a question that somebody asked me, and I messaged them that I will answer it on the Hangout. So I will read the question. It is from, I think, Leah. Magdi, I wonder, does the self come before the universe, before life, before existence, before the world, before matter? Does the self depend on existence, or does existence depend on the self? Which comes first? Does the self have an independent existence? I mean, without a cause, all by itself. Does the self create the universe, or does the universe create the self? And is the self in the universe or out of it? Can you please clarify these things? Thank you. So before we talk about the self and the relationship of the self with what we call the world, phenomena, life, whatever we refer to as matter. It's important to understand what I mean by the self. The ultimate meaning of the self is completely beyond the mind. It is the experience of causeless peace and happiness. It is the revelation of causeless peace and happiness. Peace that does not depend on anything triggering it, and that does not end upon the ending of something that triggered it. So it's causeless peace means peace that has no cause, meaning no start and therefore no end. It is beyond the mind because the mind only conceives in time. It conceives in the realm of beginning and ending. Things getting better or getting worse. So the ultimate meaning of the self is completely beyond the mind. It is the experiential revelation of causeless peace and happiness. You can sense that in Satsang. You recognize that within yourself when the mind ceases. In fact, the mind is not continuous. It is discontinuous. But it seems to be continuous. In fact, it is the self that is continuous. It is the peace, the formless, causeless peace that is continuous. In the mind are appearances, events that appear in the bliss of the self, in the causeless peace and happiness of the self. So by the self, I mean the revelation of the self. The revelation, the transformative revelation that dissolves the belief in the reality of the mind. It dissolves that belief in the formless reality of the self, of consciousness, of presence. So the self, the experience of the self, is the experience of eternity. Freedom, bliss, joy, happiness, eternal and infinite. The mind, appearances, thoughts, sensations, perceptions, you could consider them to be the play of consciousness. Like your night dreams are the play of the human that is sleeping. All appearances refer to that does not appear, that is not an appearance. All impressions refer to that is beyond all impressions. Impressions arise as, you could say, dream impressions, playful impressions. Like waves arise as playful impressions out of the ocean. They never leave the ocean. They're not separate from the ocean. There are no waves without the ocean. But there is ocean without waves. All you need to do is dive 2-3 feet below the ocean, or maybe 5-10 feet, to experience the vastness and the stillness of the ocean. So in your question, I wonder, does the self come before the universe existence? No. In fact, There isn't a before or an after. If you look directly at your experience, where is the before and where is the after? Let's say you had breakfast this morning. Is that before now? Is now after breakfast morning? In a relative sense, you could say yes. So you look at the clock and you say, well, the clock was saying 7 a.m. when I had breakfast, and now it says 5 p.m. So it was before. But in your experience, did you experience breakfast to be after satsang, or are you experiencing satsang to be after breakfast? Is that your experience? Or is your experience just eternal presence? Let's not even use the word eternal, just pure presence, beingness, that has no time in it. So time is a mentation, which is okay, it's a useful mentation, but it's a useless mentation in your understanding. Your understanding can only arise out of your direct experience, your direct knowingness. Your understanding, if it's based on borrowed knowledge, then it's not true understanding. You have to come to your own understanding. And you come to your understanding by the contemplation of your direct experience. In order to contemplate your experience, you need to let go of all your past knowledge and come to your nakedness, to your simplicity, to your purity, and perceive from the purity without any belief structures on deck. So in this very moment, what is time? What is before and after? The self, meaning presence, beingness, awareness, consciousness, is formless. And yet it is the reality of perception. Without awareness, without consciousness, what would perception be? So the self is primary. Consciousness is primary. But this does not mean that perceptions follow or are at a later distance or at a later time, are at a different time than awareness. In fact, when you look at your perception, you will find that the perception and the perceiving are instantaneous. They're simultaneous. There isn't a time. Now, there may be an interpretation that may take time. To see, oh, that's a tree. That may have a certain mechanism in it. But perception and the perceived are simultaneous. And they also occur at the same place. Perceiving and the perceived, the perception and perceiving take place at the same place. They're not apart in distance. They're not apart in time and not apart in distance. So you need to contemplate that, so you come to the understanding that the self and what we refer to as the world, body, mind are not two. There isn't a before or an after. Before and after is a mentation. It's a neutral mentation that's useful in managing the world. And it's an unhappy impression when you believe yourself to be existing in time, when you believe that you, meaning consciousness, that I as consciousness, exists in time. When there is the belief that I as consciousness exists in time, there is the seed of mortality, unhappiness and concern, and the whole process of seeking freedom and happiness, meaning seeking the eternal. So seeking the eternal is connected to the belief that I, awareness, consciousness, beingness, exist in time and space. So no, the self does not depend on existence. Does existence depend on the self? Which comes first? You know yourself to be. You know I am. And you also, for example, I am a man or a woman. The knowingness of I am is pure knowingness. It is the formless knowing itself. It is awareness being aware of itself. Consciousness being aware that it's conscious. Consciousness is conscious. I am is an expression of consciousness, beingness. I am a man is awareness being aware of a form perception. When it identifies with I am a man and it excludes I am also everything else, then there is suffering and unhappiness. But I am a man and I am the clouds and I am the wind and I am the rivers and I am none of that. That is I am. That is universal I amness. But your question, what depends on what? So in your dream world, in your night dream, your dreams depend on you, meaning they arise out of you. You do not arise out of your dreams. The dreamer dreams the dreams, but the dreams do not dream the true dreamer. The true dreamer dreams all dreams, and the dreams dream the false dreamer. For example, in your night dream, there may be an impression that this image is appearing is believing itself to be a 20-year-old girl swimming in an ocean. In fact, you are not a 20-year-old girl. You may be, older human dreaming this dream. And the identity that's in the dream, that I am a 20-year-old girl, is a false identity. In fact, I am this man sleeping and dreaming this dream. This is just a metaphor, because in fact, consciousness is not male or female. It's just is a metaphor. There is a higher level, a higher dimension, where consciousness dreams, all dreams, all events, all appearances arise out of it. But it does not arise out of any dream. Consciousness is referred to as non-phenomenal, and the world, body, mind referred to as phenomenal. In fact, these are just conceptual distinctions, because there isn't a phenomenal and non-phenomenal. In fact, all there is the self. It is all the self. And I'm just using this metaphoric language to reply to your question that all your dreams, all mind impressions, all thoughts and sensations arise out of consciousness, but consciousness remains untouched, free of all what arises. And in fact, all what arises is also free. It's completely free. It is all freedom. But consciousness can be aware of images, of perceptions. In other words, there is a knowingness of consciousness in the presence of thoughts and world, body, mind impressions. But there is also a higher knowingness, I would say a higher, I can explain that in a minute, knowingness where consciousness knows itself independent of the world, body, mind impressions. And it's very important that you contemplate the knowingness of the self in the absence of world, body, mind impressions, so that you come to the experience of the self, meaning of consciousness, of awareness in its pure form. It is always pure, but I'm just using this metaphoric language, in its pure form, so that then you can experience the world, body, mind without experiencing that there is a secondary reality which belongs to the trees, the mountains, the rivers, and the lakes. You also write, does the self have an independent existence? I mean, without cause, all by itself. In order for A to cause B, there has to be mind that is attributing a causality. Because of its own, in the absence of mind attributing causality, there is just instantaneous arising. In your direct experience, there is instantaneous arising. Now, in the phenomenal realm, you could say that there are undeniable relationships. For example, gravity is an undeniable fact of the phenomenal world, of the physical world. If you drop a glass, it's going to fall down and shatter and break. But that relationship that we say, okay, leaving gravity, when you let go of a glass from 1 foot of a marble floor, it will fall down and breaks. You can say, okay, well, the cause of the glass breaking is because I left the glass or I dropped the glass 1 foot off a granite floor. Which, okay, it's why not? One could make this postulation. But this causality, this causal relationship, is still at the phenomenal realm. At the noumenal realm, there is no such thing. Meaning at the realm of consciousness, there is no causality. Because there is nothing that is not consciousness. It's all consciousness. So there isn't one aspect of it that is different from another aspect and that can affect it. No, there isn't one part A, that can have an impact upon part B in consciousness. So in the noumenal realm, the whole realm of causality does not apply. You could apply theories of causality in the phenomenal world, but you will find that that's an endless game in the phenomenal world, because in fact everything causes everything else. Everything is impacting onto everything else. So you could find 100 or 100,000 causes for anything if you look closer and closer. Does the self create the universe, or the universe create the self? I think we sort of talked about that. And is the self in the universe or out of it? Well, your dreams, your perceptions, your thoughts, your sensations arise in consciousness. Consciousness does not arise in your thoughts. Consciousness does not arise in your perception. It is the perception that arises in awareness. Awareness does not arise in the perception. So you could say that, in fact, what we refer to as the universe, meaning world, body, mind impressions, arise in the self. The self does not arise in them. Again, that's a relative language, because in fact, they're not two. Okay, the question goes on, and also, shouldn't we try to get a meaning from appearances, like this appears because of that, and that appears because of that? Karma, question mark. Well, you could try to get a meaning out of appearances, and you may end up in a labyrinth, because there are so many different meanings that you can attribute depending on so many different things, on your moods, on your culture, your education, on your degree of perception. There are many factors that can affect the mind in providing a meaning to what appears. In Advaita, in non-duality, we look for the absolute meaning. We do not look for relative meanings. So in the relative meanings are infinite. Depending, you study something from the biological point of view, from the physics point of view, or you look at mathematical models of what is appearing. There are many different ways of looking at the elephant. You can approach it from many different angles, but there is, in Advaita, we look for the absolute meaning. The absolute meaning is the meaning that does not change. You do not find one, and that does not change, and that applies to everything. One meaning that applies to everything. And you may not necessarily arrive to the absolute meaning or ultimate meaning by looking at appearances. You may have to look beyond them. You also ask, how should we treat the appearances? Do appearances have any meaning for us? Should we treat them like having no any significant meaning? Well, when you're hungry, you cook some food. When you feel like you would like to enjoy the company of friends, you call them, you invite them over for dinner, or you go out together to the theater. So you treat appearances, you treat the body with care and intelligence. You eat healthy, organic vegetarian food. You exercise the body. You walk. You go for walks. You stretch a little bit. You do some work to take care of food, shelter, and clothing. So you treat appearances gently, but above all, without mistaking yourself to be an appearance. If you mistake yourself to be an appearance, you're in deep doo-doo. You need to realize that you are beyond all appearances, that you are that to which all appearances arise and out of which all appearances arise, remaining untouched and unmoved, unstirred, untainted by whatever appearances arise to you. Okay, thank you for your question. That was it for the question. Thank you all for your patience with that question. So if you're still there and awake and you have any questions or anything you would like to share here together.
I would like to share just a little thing that happened today.
Yes.
When I was cycling to work, also it was a sunny morning and everything was fine. And it's hard to put into words, but suddenly there was like an opening, an inner opening, and like the words you just said now, they were kind of understood. And there was a sweetness. I can only say it was sweet, and there was a vastness and something beyond the words. The whole thing was beyond words. And also, I watched how the mind kind of put words on it, but I could watch the mind and also oh, how to keep this. I could also watch this tendency to want to keep it, and also I thought, now I have to go into work, I will lose it. But anyway, it had a quality that I haven't experienced before. So and it just happened by itself. I don't know why. And, just sharing about it makes me happy again. Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Renate. I just wanted to share that at the moment of understanding, or the moment of aha, there is no mind. There is just the radiance of happiness, peace, joy. We say the radiance of the self, the radiance of our true nature. It's very beautiful, but the point I want to say is that there is no mind. And as you said, like the mind may come back and say, oh, you see, I would like to have this experience, you see, again, or whatever. But in fact, the mind never experienced it. There was no mind. It was just joy, openness, a sense of vastness. It's hard to really put into words, but okay, so we communicate a little bit about it. But the trickery of the mind, the mind says, oh, how can I not lose that? But the mind doesn't know what it's talking about because it was not there. So tricky. It was not there. It says, oh, I really need to practice that, to keep that, to I need to, oh gee, I'm gonna lose it. But you know, you never, it's not your, it's beyond the mind. See, the mind is, so I just wanted to share that. It's it's fun to see that. Yes. Yes. And you know, in our contemplation, we start to trust more and more that realm that that is beyond the mind, where there is no mind. We sort of trust it, and there is a habit we have to, you know, the mind to just the mind to sort of be doing something, but we'll realize and we'll notice that more and more we're okay with the mind sort of babbling stuff, and it's just sort of, we know that the revelation is beyond the mind, and we trust that. You know, over time, we may not notice the changes that occur in a short period of time, but over time we notice, gee, there's more like peace in our life and more happiness, and where things occur, we may be in traffic or not, and it's okay. We notice over time, we notice the sweetness increasing in our life. We may not notice it right away, the lasting shifts that are happening in our life. So if there are any other questions, anybody? Hello, Ananda. You write, what is that which, when known, everything is known? An old postulation, interesting. In what way is everything known? Everything is known when all forms dissolve. All mentation. There is no more any coming and going. You know yourself beyond all forms. And this knowingness has no obstacles. It's nothing in its way. So you could say that everything is known when the mind is in complete stillness. The stillness of the mind is only possible when all me impressions of personal reality, that entire belief structure, that entire feeling structure dissolves in presence. It's a knowingness that has no boundaries. Somebody once mentioned it is like a circle with no center and an infinite radius. It is borderless and causeless peace and happiness. You know yourself experientially as that. You are nothing that appears. You are that unborn, uncaused, infinite. The complete freedom and bliss of the self. eternal radiance. Beyond all impressions. Undefined. You define whatever you wish to define, remaining undefined.
Mm-hmm.
You're the love and the bliss, the ocean. All impressions return to you and dissolve in you because of your vastness.
Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking that somehow all the impressions which arise are not surprising in some way. They're known already. They're familiar in some way, or they're not news or something, because they're intimate, maybe because they don't because there's so little need to react to it that it's as if it was known, even though it's new, maybe.
Well, everything that arises comes to your full knowingness.
Mm-hmm.
It comes to your full knowingness, and what does not come to your full knowingness does not arise. Whatever arises comes to your knowingness. Whatever does not come to your knowingness does not arise.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so if I haven't left my spacious being that you were just describing and gone into a mind realm, then I'm not assuming a big world with unknown characteristics, you know.
Well, the mind realm is a specific mind realm where I imagine myself to be other than the knowingness. I imagine myself to be some entity with limited capacities, with limited assets, with limited skills, etc.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I imagine myself to be body-mind, with a limited limited sensations and limited perceptions and limited capacities.
Mm-hmm.
And then I leave my knowingness and imagine myself to be a limited knowingness, seeking wholeness, meaning full knowingness.
Mm-hmm. But through the mind and senses, yeah.
Through mind and senses, the leaving the knowingness is going to the mind and senses, to the body, mind, and senses. So this imaginary separation from knowingness seems to arise in the obscurity, in your not knowingness, seems to arise in your confusion, seems to arise in the shadow, in the penumbra. But in fact, you are experiencing yourself to be this limited, achy, needy, lackey person. What is it that is experiencing that? Is it not your knowingness?
Yes.
So your knowingness is there,
Yes.
available to you. And there is a possibility for you, even in these moments,
Mm-hmm.
to turn your attention to your knowingness of
Mm-hmm.
whatever is being known, whatever
Mm-hmm.
it is that is being known,
Mm-hmm.
irrespective if it's joyful, not joyful, etc.,
Yeah.
mind spinning. You turn your attention, what is it?
Mm-hmm.
Where is this arising? To what is this arising? And you
Mm-hmm.
come to your presence. Your presence is eternally available to you. That's very, very beautiful. It's a gift from God. It's a consciousness gifts itself to itself. It says, I'm going to play the game of ignorance, but you know what? Here I am.
Mm-hmm.
Here I am. You can come to me anytime. Yes?
This little song came to me from my childhood. It goes, I'm a sweet little lamb who has lost my way. Ba, ba, ba. Like that. So that's where all the that's where the trouble comes. I think somebody just disappeared from the thing. Maybe I'm too crazy.
Well,
But that's so it's beautiful. It's beautiful, beautiful. I really have been pondering this question for decades. Somebody posed it. What is that which, when known, everything is known? And then so many different ways of looking at it, and I appreciate all the different things you brought out. And then, of course, the crux of it all is it's just almost impossible to comprehend. It's impossible to mentally comprehend. Well, not really, because we're talking about it.
You don't need to. You don't need to mentally comprehend happiness. What for? You just be happy.
Mm.
We want to package it and figure out maybe, I don't know, turn it into a business.
Let me just say something. That's another issue, kind of. That there's on the relative level. There's I work with dying people, and they die constantly. They're always dying. And then also my age group, a lot of people are getting sick, and people are passing away, and parents. And it's almost like there's something that would like to know that that's okay, but in a relative way. It's like I want to be the guy who I want to be the guy who completely is okay with the passing away, the losses of whatever's lost, and all that kind of stuff. And yet it seems like in the realm of a feeling being, which I'm the witness of, there is some pathos or something about things like that, death and stuff. And maybe that's an okay element.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I'm unrealistic to want to be completely free from the reaction to the relative, even if it's a big unexpected tax bill, that's a kind of a loss of my something.
Well, at the relative level, we want to know our eternity. We want to know that death is not an issue.
Yes.
So we want to know that, and we are at different points in our, let's say, spiritual journey and maturity. At one extreme, although we'd like to know that death is okay, we really can't contemplate that fully, and so we revert to believing in paradise if we're in Christians, or believing in Jannah if we are Muslims, etc. So we turn to religion to sort of serve us as a drug to appease us, and there are, of course, different phases in our journey where we are more, let's say, ripe to contemplate the death of the body, mind, meaning my death, because there is still that identification, and we'd like to know that it's okay. We'd like to, say, okay, I'm going to die. It's okay, but in fact, it's not okay, because the
fear is that awareness is going to disappear, I think.
Yeah, right.
Like
I'm going to disappear. Awareness, I'm going to disappear. We don't, I mean, if we are at the stage where we are contemplating that awareness, I'm going to disappear, that's already, I would say, quite a riper place to be in your contemplation, because there is already some slight understanding that you are awareness, or that somehow you're connected to awareness, and so you're more you're at a different phase in your contemplation, but you can't really come to a full resting of that question. You can't come at the relative level to be really completely okay with the death of the body until you've come to your knowingness. And of course, the more you come to your knowingness, meaning the knowingness of what I truly am, the lesser the concern about the death of the body-mind, the lesser it is a concern, and at some point it ceases to be a concern. This may not mean that if anything happens to the body, that the body will not go, because there is built into the body a certain mechanism to manage itself, to take care of itself, to defend itself, to protect itself, and these are like body-mind functions.
Right.
They're not identifications. You see, like when you hear it.
That's the key, I think. They're not identifications, they're actually functions.
No. Yes.
And so why think that they should be expunged, or could be?
No, you cannot. No, they're natural functions. Like when you hear a sudden sound, a sudden bang or something, you're startled. The body is automatically moves, away from that sound, and the blood. There is a complete physiological transformation in the body in a not even in a flash of a second, to in case there is actually some damage that happens to the body.
I think the blood goes more to the. You feel faint because the blood goes in case something gets blown off. It won't bleed as much.
Yes. There are there are physiological, but it's quite different from the fear of death or the concern about my death, because the fear of death is a mental and physiological condition that is connected to the identification as with this body mind. So we're concerned about me in time. I'm afraid about what may happen to me on the highway. I'm afraid about losing my wealth, losing my health. They're all connected to the identification with a body-mind appearance, and overlooking, and we're overlooking that which does not appear. We're overlooking the formless reality, and we're identifying with an appearance, a form appearance that keeps drifting and shifting, and you see.
Yes.
That's the. So, in knowing yourself, you're no longer identifying, or let's say the identification is diminishing, is lesser and less frequent and lesser duration. And the presence, the knowingness of yourself as this vastness, as beingness, has room to, let's say, it's figurative speaking, to expand, and that's the peace, and that's the peace and the freedom and the bliss, and it's the formless does not die. So the belief that the formless depends on the form, meaning that the formless is not real, but it's real. Real is the form, and so the formless depends on the form, is shifts, because in fact it is revealed that it is the formless that is the reality, and the form that is the dream. So the dreams come and go. It's not such a big deal.
Yeah. Something interesting.
At the same time, in this manifest realm, this is in a way your playground and your opportunity, let's say, to utilize and to whatever is arising for you, to realize your true nature, to realize what you truly are. So there are opportunities provided to you, conditions provided to you in your life, and then you use them, you rearrange them to you live them for and as and in the contemplation of truth.
And I just had a little insight while you were saying that the intensity that arises with a big loss or something, that hits your body, mind, is sort of inverse to, if you see through it, you'll really see your real, if you can see through it, you really come to yourself. That's why it's a big shock, because you see through it, you are, or that's why it's a big teaching, is what I mean. So there's nothing wrong with anything going wrong, because it's teaching, a small teaching or a big teaching.
Yeah, what is it called? The forgeron, the blacksmith. The blacksmith, he heats up the fire to a very high temperature and puts the metal right in it to be red hot. And there is also, in the way consciousness manifests, sometimes it throws the fire, it throws you into the fire. And
beautiful analogy.
You may not understand what's going on, but you will be very happy that consciousness served you so with such love.
Yeah, beautiful.
Okay, Ananda. Okay, nice talking to you.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Okay, are there any other questions? Okay, well, thank you very much for your lovely company. Very beautiful to be with you all. And Barbara, and Solomon, and Nikki, yes. Love you all. We'll see you soon. Thank you.